Igumenica. We are departing for Corfu. Corfu, or Kerkyra, is a Greek island in the Ionian Sea and, including its small satellite islands, forms the margin of the northwestern frontier of Greece. The island is part of the Corfu regional unit and is administered by three municipalities with the islands of Otonoi, Eirikousa and Matraki. The principal city of the island is also named Corfu and has a population of about 35,000 people. The island is bound up with the history of Greece from the beginnings of Greek mythology and is marked by numerous battles and conquests. From medieval times and into the 17th century, the island successfully repulsed the Ottoman during several sieges and was recognized as a bulwark of the European states against the Ottoman Empire and became one of the most fortified places in Europe. The fortifications of the island were used by the Venetians to defend against Ottoman intrusions into the Adriatic. Corfu eventually fell under British rule following the Napoleonic Wars and was eventually ceded to Greece by the British government along with the remaining islands of the United States of the Ionian Islands. Unification with modern Greece was concluded in 1864 under the Treaty of London. Corfu is the origin of the Ionian Academy, the first university of the modern Greek state, and the Nobile Teatro di San Giacomo di Corfu, the first Greek theater and opera house of modern Greece. In 2007, the city's old town was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List following a recommendation by ICOMOS. The northeastern edge of Corfu lies off the coast of Sarande, separated by straits varying in width from 3 to 23 kilometers. The southeast side of the island lies off the coast of Thesprotia, Greece. With the island's area estimated at 600 square kilometers, it runs approximately 64 kilometers long, with greatest breadth at around 32 kilometers. Two high and well-defined ranges divide the island into three districts, of which the northern is mountainous, the central undulating, and the southern low-lying. The more important of the two ranges, that of Pontacrator, stretches east and west from Cape Falacro to Cape Psaromita and attains its greatest elevations in the summit of the same name. The whole island, composed as it is of various limestone formations, presents great diversity of surface. Beaches are found in Agiogordis, the Corission Lagoon, Agios Georgios, Marathia, Cassiope, Sidari, Palaiokastrica, and many others. Corfu's coastline spans 217 kilometers, including capes. Its highest point is Mount Pantocrator, 911 meters, almost 3,000 feet, and the second Stravoskiadi at 850 meters, almost 2,800 feet. The full extent of capes and promontories take in Agia ai Caterini, Drastis to the north, Lefkimi and Asprokavos to the southeast, and Megachoro to the south. Two islands are also to be found at a middle point of Gouvia and Corfu Bay, which extends across much of the eastern shore of the island, are known as Lazaretto and Tichia. The old citadel is an old Venetian fortress built on an artificial islet with fortifications surrounding its entire perimeter, although some sections, particularly on the east side, are slowly being eroded and falling into the sea. The central high point of the citadel rises like a giant natural obelisk, complete with a military observation post at the top, with a giant cross at its apex. At the foot of the observatory lies St. George's Church, in a classical style punctuated by 6 Doric columns, as opposed to the Byzantine architectural style of the greater part of Greek Orthodox churches. The island is linked by 2 motorways. Corfu has ferry services both by traditional ferries to Gaios in the island of Pacioi and as far as Patras, and both traditional ferries and advanced retractable airfoil, hydrodynamic flow, high-speed ferries called flying dolphins to Igoumenitsa and Sarande in neighboring Albania. The small port of Lefkimi is also to be found at the southernmost tip of the island on Cape Cabos, offering a ferry service to the mainland. The buses to the main places on the island run about 6 times a day between the city of Glifada, Sidari, Paleocastrița, Roda and Acaravi, Lefkimi and Piri. Other coaches drive up to twice a day to Athens and Thessaloniki. City buses run to the city to the airport, Achileion, Gouvia, Afra, Peletas and some other places of interest. With around 300 bird species recorded since the 19th century, the birds in Corfu vary in size from the greater flamingo to the goldcreest. Some species have become extinct, such as the rock partridge and the grey partridge, or no longer breed on the island, like the eastern imperial eagle, the white-tailed eagle, the Bonelius eagle, the griffon vulture, and the Egyptian vulture. Around 40 species of mammals live on the island and in the sea around it. Fin whales, sperm whales, caviars, beaked whales, common bottlenose dolphins, short-backed common dolphins, striped dolphins, and rhesus dolphins are the regularly present cetaceans. Monk seals appear from time to time without breeding here anymore. Eurasian otters still survive in the lagoons and streams of Corfu. There are 75 plus known species of Corfiot butterfly. The city of Corfu stands on the broad part of a peninsula, whose termination in the Venetian citadel is cut off from it by an artificial fosse formed in a natural gully with a seawater moat at the bottom that now serves as a marina and is called the Contrafossa. In several parts of the old city, buildings of the Venetian era are to be found. The old city's architectural character is strongly influenced by the Venetian style, coming as it did under Venetian rule for a long period. Its small and ancient side streets and the old building's trademark arches are particularly reminiscent of Venice. In the old town, there are many narrow streets paved with cobblestones. These streets are known as Countounia and the older amongst them sometimes follow the gentle irregularities of the ground, while many are too narrow for vehicular traffic. A promenade rises by the seashore towards the Bay of Garița, together with an esplanade between the city and the citadel known as Spianada, with the Liston Arcade to its west side, where restaurants and bistros abound. Near the old Venetian citadel, a large square called Spianada is also to be found, divided by a street in two parts, Ano Plateia and Cato Plateia. This is the biggest square in southeastern Europe and one of the largest in Europe, and replete with green spaces and interesting structures, such as a Roman-style rotunda from the era of British administration, known as the Maitland Monument, built to commemorate Sir Thomas Maitland. Just to the north of Cato Plateia lie the Palaia Anactora, a large complex of buildings of Roman architectural style, which formerly housed the kings of Greece and prior to that the British governors of the island. Today the palace is open to the public and forms a complex of halls and buildings housing art exhibits, including a museum of Asian art, unique across southern Europe. The gardens of the palaces, complete with old Venetian stone aquariums, exotic trees and flowers, overlook the bay through old Venetian fortifications and turrets, and the local sea baths are at the foot of the fortifications surrounding the gardens. From the same spot, the viewer can observe ships passing through the narrow channel of the historic Vido Island on their way to Corfu harbor, with high-speed retractable aerofoil ferries from Igoumenitsa also cutting across the panorama. In the city there are 37 Greek churches, the most important of which are the city's cathedral, the church dedicated to Our Lady of the Cave, Saint Spiridon Church, wherein lies the preserved body of the patron saint of the island, and finally the suburban church of Saint Jason and Saint Sosipater, reportedly the oldest in the island, and named after the two saints, probably the first to preach Christianity to the Corfiots. In the city of Corfu, the ruins of the ancient city of Corcyra, also known as Palaiopolis, include ancient temples which were excavated at the location of the palace of Mon Repos, which was built on the ruins of the Palaiopolis. The temples are Kardaki Temple, Temple of Artemis, and the Temple of Hera.